you remember from the last game against Notre Dame?
Well, obviously we did a lot of good things in that game. Our transition offense was good. We scored on the break. We pushed the ball. Got some easy baskets. Chris kind of broke out of his shooting slump that game, made some shots for us. Trey played extremely well. And then we got some big stops when we needed them down the stretch. They're offensively, they can throw a lot of different things at you. And, they're kind of in the same boat we are. Key component of their team is no longer with them. Different reasons, but the results are the same, or what you have to do afterwards is the same. And they've been banged up too. Knight's missed a couple games. One kid's had the heart issues. Jackson's had to miss a couple games for some academic reasons. So it's an important game for us to go on the road. We've played pretty well on the road. We need to continue to do that.
Have you seen any changes in how they're playing from the last time?
They're running, yeah. I mean, they're a lot of similarities, but they're running some different things on offense, getting a little more movement, trying to get a little more everybody involved in the offense, and at times that's really helped them. Connigan is really good off the ball, moving without the ball, and some of the stuff they're doing is really putting him in a good position to make plays.
After looking at that Clemson tape again, did you have any different observations or thoughts than you did after?
Well, unfortunately, there were times that we looked banged up and looked a step slow. I think you see that on offense at times with some of the movement, or in crucial times on the defensive glass. I thought the big key in that was our ability to stop the ball in the open court. They're not a great transition team, and our numbers are always obviously different than Moose's when it comes to the fast break points. But I had them at 18-2 in transition, and that's you can't win the game. Now when you're playing Clemson, where there's going to be less possessions and so forth, 18-2 is going to get your butt beat. So now you eliminate that aspect from it, and this is the positive. In those other areas of the game, although hard to always meet my standards and what I'd like to do, we did a pretty good job in the other areas of the game. And so that's just unfortunate. And many times it's just with enough guys coming back, not enough stopping of the ball in the open court.
You talked a little bit after the game about Rob being out of sync. Did you see anything that you could put your finger on?
No, a couple layups, good, throwbacks, actions that we like with him attacking the basket. Normally finishes those. A couple open shots that he normally finishes. We need a little more patience if we get a mismatch with him in the post of getting the ball back to his side so he can post up, but you have to post up on that. You see it around. You see it with different teams. If a guy missed 6 or 7 weeks, for him to get full back and playing the way you want him, it's not going to take 2 weeks. Even though he's playing, and what it's going to be is some inconsistency. And unfortunately, that's what happened on Saturday for him.
Were you saying they had him in the low post a couple times and then didn't go back to it, or?
No, they switched some of the ball screen action, and put a smaller guy on him, and we got to be able to exploit that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And sometimes you need some poise in order to do that, and we didn't do a good job of that.
Is that mostly awareness recognition, or is it something?
I think it's awareness, recognition, and execution. You know what I mean? And having the poise to be able to get that ball back into the area where now you can, take advantage of that.
I think I remember one instance where Carter had, I think it was probably a Glosson game on the right, kind of near the right block, and you're kind of waiting for the ball to come back, and then I forget what happened after that.
Yeah, and then a couple of them where they switched the guard onto him, and we just didn't have enough spacing, or he didn't get deep enough, or the guard didn't bring it back to him, and Sometimes you have to get that ball reversed to get it back to them as well, because they're a good defensive team. Nothing's, even on a switch like that, it's not going to be easy. So just something that we need to recognize, and I think what's starting to happen in some of those cases is, and I mentioned it on my radio show and TV show, I thought Trey played much better, but he has to play different than he did before. Meaning, we don't score in transit. He's not, his ability, the explosiveness at times isn't there. So where does that show up? It shows up in the open court, and it shows off of him exploding off of ball screens and driving the ball. So he's got to play a little different, and he's starting to figure it out. He took more jump shots than normal. The drives to the basket that got us to the free throw line and got some kickouts and stuff might not be there as much just because of that. And sometimes now that also allows the defense to switch a bigger guy onto him, because the threat of him going by him isn't as much as it was a month ago.
He seemed like he was pretty comfortable with his shot too as the game went on.
Well, I think that's, again, you hate to say it, but in some cases he needs to become more of a jump shooter. You know what I mean? And that's just where we're at. That's just where we're at. That limits us sometimes of what we can do, offensively. But it is, you gotta be, that's the challenge that we're in right now.
Speaking of Trey, you had a great game last time when you played Notre Dame at home, but what else worked out well offensively against Fighting Irish last month?
Well, I thought we got some good looks, from some other guys. We got good looks against their zone when they went to it, and we didn't shoot the ball well against it. And we had a couple turnovers against it. So they're playing some more zone than they were even when we played them the first time. So we're going to have to do a good job of executing against that.
All right, what helps you, when you've looked at it, you played a team a second time around in conference play, especially when you've beaten before?
Well, you hope you can do it again, there's a confidence factor, our guys know. And at the same time, there's been enough games in between. That was our third game of the conference. So you got 12 games in between or something like that. There's been a lot of basketball played. As I said, we're a different team, unfortunately, than we were at that time. One, we've added Robert, and we didn't have him then. But with some of the other stuff too, we're going to have to do some different things.
When you talk about Trey not being, the usual explosiveness that he used to have going to the basket, do you look to somebody like Marcus and perhaps Chris to take over that role?
Well, you'd like to, and Marcus is banged up pretty good right now too. You know what I mean? He took that pretty good fall in the Duke game and re-injured that hip that he hurt in New York. I thought Chris made 2 or 3 really good moves off the dribble in the first half, but it wasn't there in the second half, and that's something that you need. You need to be able to penetrate and get inside the lane and either create a shot for yourself or drop it off to a big guy. Daniel got a couple of those in the game, and or kick the ball out for some shots.
I guess that's especially true with Chris when they are aware of his three-point shooting ability, and they're really out in his face,
Yeah, you got to be able to, attack the defense and read the situation. If they're flying at you or they're staying tight, then you got to work yourself to get open, and you got to be able to attack off the dribble.